Good morning, everyone. So after you hear a lot of things about testing and the inspiring talks from Dr. Gopichan and the previous speakers, this is a slightly different than what you had so far and what you're going to hear for next 1.5 days or so. First and foremost, thank you, stepping committees, for having us here talking about accessibility in such a mainstream conference. Because accessibility, whether we like it or not, still even today is still considered as a charity activity or so. Though we talk big things about is a business case and business need and so on. So let's actually move on and talk about it. We're going to give you some insights about accessibility testing and how we can do the automation and what we did at PayPal and eBay, okay, and so on. Nanda has talked enough about both of us, so I don't have to repeat this. Thank you, Nanda, for that wonderful introductions. This is what we're going to talk about in next few minutes. We're going to talk about find W1H. That is what, where, when, what, who, and how, and everything. And then we are also going to talk about a little bit about web accessibility standards. Then we are going to cover about common myths on web accessibility, because there are a lot of misconceptions in all of your minds also, I guess. And then we'll also talk about some of the common issues that we see, and when you actually hear about it, you think, oh, I've never thought about it. I saw these bugs a lot of times, but I didn't really see it's an issue. And then we're also going to talk about the need for customized accessibility testing framework and so on. What is it? What is accessibility? Tim Berners-Lee say, World Wide Web is actually for everyone. It's not limited to any one particular person. And it's not a rocket science. Accessibility means to ensure that your product is usable and workable and functional to every user, regardless of ability or disability. Even if you've turned around 80-85 years, and due to the age, if you touch wood not, but if you develop any kind of disabilities or disorders, you should still be able to use the internet or any product for that matter. You should be able to use a smartphone or whatever, your washing machine, fridge and television, everything. So it's about giving the equal functionality about a product to all users. And why do we need it? If you look at the statistics, the WHO has published some time back saying that there are approximately about 650 plus million people with different disabilities across the world. There are about 65-70 million people with disabilities in India alone. If you're a product company, if you're a service-oriented company, would you be interested to lose this market? Definitely not. So it's a huge market, and today, thanks to the technology is so much advanced today. Even a person who is deaf blind can use an Android or iPhone, or the person who is paraplegic and who can't use any of their hands and legs, they can also use your product. But it is you, as a developer or tester, it's a tester who should actually give the feedback. Testers should never hesitate. We all know that we are the biggest enemies to the developer community, but that is fine. But we are here to represent the users and give the feedback and get the issues fixed. And another thing is that growing population is the elderly. All of us will become senior citizens one day or the other. Nanda might have turn to senior citizen after 150 years, that is a different story. And another interesting part is, how many of you use Facebook or Twitter from your desktop computer? Can you please clap? All of you use from desktop computer? I don't think so. And most of us use from the mobile devices, right? So, and even whether it is a shopping or whether it is a booking railway tickets, bus tickets, air tickets, most of the needs today are doing the bank transactions. Most of us rely on the mobile devices. So that's another biggest need. Why do we talk about it? Because accessibility, if you actually make your product accessible to a large extent, it also works very well on a mobile device. We'll talk about it in a bit later. Who should test? Who should test? A functional tester? Or a QA lead, QA manager? No, it's actually everybody, from a designer to end user. So a designer, because the reason is, one of the common things that happens is when it comes to accessibility, people come for the testing after all the product is developed. After all the application is developed, they come for accessibility testing. And many a times, if I really want to be happy, I want the developer to go back and build that application start from the scratch. Because I kind of code that people write, oh sorry, they don't write, they copy paste. Yeah. So a designer should actually consider testing during the design phase to address two things. One is color contrast. Because if I actually have this PowerPoint and white background and yellow color text, will you all be able to see? No. So a designer should actually think about color contrast, and number two, they should consider about the interaction design. Because they are the people who actually does the interaction design, light box or drop-down menus, they should also consider, they should also tell the developers saying that it must be interactable with the keyboard or device independent. And all the developers should actually test when they are coding, because that's easy to fix the issues. It's not just about the accessibility, even for any other thing, if a developer can also test while they are coding, or write the neat code and use simple tools to test while coding, it actually solves a lot of problems. In fact, if a developer, when they code an HTML page and run a tool, something like Wave or any of the tools that we are going to talk about, quickly if he runs, he should be able to address at least 80% of the issues on the fly. And then QA stage, everyone should be good to integrate, make the accessibility an integral part of your test cycle, because it's also a requirement of standard, and also in some countries it's also needed from the government. So it's also a legal requirement, including in India. We'll talk about it in the standards part. And it's actually essential to get tested by the end user, because they are people who actually give the feedback, who are going to use the product. If you actually seek the feedback from them, it will be wonderful, because they are going to, if you are a developer or QA tester, because both of you are friends, you might not be able to catch a lot of bugs anyway, because you both are friends. But when you actually call a third person who is not related to product at all, and ask him for feedback, you will get a wonderful feedback. I don't know who did it, but when there was somebody developing a smartphone, and they were demoing it to the CEO of the company, and the CEO said, okay, there was the office boy who was actually coming inside the room. He asked him, okay, hey, how do you find this phone? Then he actually sought the feedback from that office boy and got a lot of things implemented into that, because that's the way we get the feedback. Again, when do we test? It's actually essential to consider accessibility right from the beginning. As I repeatedly say this, right from the beginning. When you actually put the product roadmap in this place, you should actually first, wherever you want to put, you should include the accessibility into it. And then, as I said, it's a design phase, and you should also use if you are doing the user research study, you should actually do that at that point also. You should include people with disabilities or elderly users at that point as well. And like we said, during the engineering and so on. Who benefits? We already talked a little bit about it. It's everybody, including everyone in this room, but especially people with disabilities, because people who are blind or deaf-blind or locomotor disabilities, hearing impaired. Like if you create a movie with a lot of audio in it, and if your audience is hearing impaired people, what do they understand? So you should consider putting the captions into it. Okay. And mobile users and SEO. There's also one interesting thing about accessibility. If you put the images with no alt text, forget about users. Even your Google and Yahoo cannot find your image, because search engines are blind, deaf, dumb, everything. Every person, learning disability, it has every disability in its technology. It can only interpret and understand the plain text, nothing else. And putting the alt text is, people think it's an alt accessibility requirement, but actually it's also a requirement of SEO. And also, accessibility does not help only people with disabilities, but also who rely on the low bandwidth and who does not have enough internet connection. It also helps them, because it doesn't load particular JavaScript or images. it still should convey the information. That's one of the requirements. Or some temporary disabilities. Like many often we see, you open your laptop and your touchpad stops working. Can you take leave and go home for the day until your IT fixes it? No. So you will alternatively use the keyboard to do your performance. Okay? And most of all you drive in the Bangalore city or any of the cities, often the case that people may meet with some accident because of the way they drive. So they will develop with temporary disabilities. Even then, accessibility helps indeed. How to plan? As we said, put that into your product roadmap and have a checklist handy, because I don't want you people to go through all the documentation available on W3C or something. To start with, have a simple checklist handy. There are a lot of checklists available online. If you go to webm.org, you find a WCAG 2.0 checklist, which is a very simple one. Or if you want to get into the Section 508 of Rehabilitation Act in the American government, you can also find a checklist out there. But have a simple checklist to give to your people. Don't complicate their life in giving them too many spreadsheets or too many pages. Then they will say, oh, forget about accessibility. We'll keep it aside. Okay. Then, help your developers. Okay, give them necessary training. There are also online trainings now not a certification and all I'm talking about. Give them a simple training and give them an understanding about accessibility, because not everybody would be aware of accessibility when they come in. Okay? And when they actually get to know it, it's simple. Right? Because they must have never seen a person with disability using computer or laptop or a smartphone. Okay? Or until I say this, you also might not believe that a totally blind person can use an Android or iPhone. Right? So it's essential you give them the simple training and make them understand why accessibility is essential. Not necessarily you need to run a full day or 2 days training. Just give them a 2-hour session. Okay? If you don't have anybody in-house, there are people who can actually help you out. And you can ask to reach out to some of us. We can connect with you to some training providers, or some of us can actually come to your places and talk at some time. And give them simple tools to test. Like there are a lot of automation tools, which we're going to talk about in the testing phase. Why do you do the automation testing and all? As I said before, it's actually good and advisable if you can actually do a user study, include the users with disabilities, because that way you actually can test a lot of things, because there are the people who actually use the product at the end and they can give you a lot of interesting feedback. You don't need to do it in a formal day-to-day. Maybe you can actually organize one evening for a couple of hours, bring in some users with disabilities who are available in every city. There are a lot of non-profit organizations who train them and who use them, and a lot of people who work in different companies as well. Or if you develop large applications and a lot of things, hire a person with disability for accessibility testing. But not necessarily that don't think that accessibility is only to blind people or a particular person with disability. It's actually beyond disability and for everyone, which we'll talk in the mid part. Before that, we'll talk about the web accessibility standards. Okay, let me not make your life complicated. Okay, we can all agree to actually follow Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.0. That's a single mantra that we can use. It's developed and maintained by W3C, and every country has its own laws, like Section 508, or India has got something called Web Guidelines for Indian government websites and so on. But all of them are actually in line with WCAG, Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.0. It has got 3 levels, A, AA and AAA. But it's good to meet at least AA, because AAA is too complicated. You need to check for minute things also, but A and AA is necessary to be met. And that will not make your life so complicated anyway. And also, why do we actually talk about standards? Whether a country has a specific law or not, but if the country has signed up something called United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is passed in 2008 by UN Assembly, and it has got Article 9, which talks about web accessibility. So, and most of the countries, including India, has actually signed and ratified this convention. So, irrespective of we have a law or not, we are actually committed to United Nations and the member countries that India is an inclusive country and India puts in efforts to make our products and services accessible. And by the way, another news is that sooner or later, either in this parliament session or the next, the new disability is going to get passed. That includes web accessibility, not just mandate for government, but also public and private sectors. So that the sooner we start thinking about it, the sooner it is better. These are some of the common myths that people think about. Is accessibility is an expensive effort, it's very difficult to do, time consuming, and so on. Friends, all of this would be true, but if you think of accessibility as an afterthought. But if you think of accessibility at the beginning, it's pretty easy. Like very simple things is, like we see in the common issues, very frequent issues are something like missing of the alternate text for images, because it says even if your validator will actually fail the product if you don't put the alt text for images. One of the very common things is missing of the labels for form fields. Visually you see the labels, but what happens is it will not have association between the label and the input field. As a result, if I am a screen reader user, I will get to hear something like unlabeled edit, checkbox, radio button. Will you be able to fill anything out of this? No. Or one of the today's common problem is there any designer sitting out here? Please be not offended. But designers ask you to put labels as placeholders inside the box. I'm sorry, but that's a very bad practice. What happens is it's not just about an accessibility problem, but it can be a problem to all of us here, and including the senior citizens. Okay, imagine you are filling out a passport application form and you have all labels as placeholders. You fill out the whole application and you want to review your form. How do you make sure that you fill in right input at the right field? Because once you fill in the name or whatever data, your labels will disappear. You will not be able to see them at all. How will you make sure that you inputted the correct data? But unfortunately, it's a battle between designers and us. Of course, we haven't won so far, but let's see. But that's why if you are recommending label as placeholders, I would strongly discourage doing that. And if as a QA testers, you can actually file it as a flag and register as a P1, P0 bug also. Okay, and another thing is missing of the headings. Okay, so the heading structure is very important for any page. Okay, a lot of people put the headings. What they do is they increase the font size and they make it bold and they make it italic, whatever, and they call it as heading, but they don't want to use the heading attributes. So these are some of the common things which are very easy to actually fix, and the developers should actually keep them in mind at the right time, so that they can fix a lot of accessibility issues at the development stage itself. And another biggest issue is today we use the Web 2.0 components like Lightbox or drop-down menus and all the sort of things. But not all of them are actually accessible via keyboard. I don't mean that you should stop using it. You have a fantastic gift from W3C called something called ARIA, Accessible Rich Internet Applications. Apply those techniques and you can create any damn component you want, either a slider, Dropbox, a Lightbox, drop-down menu, whatever you want to develop, you can do anything. But you can also make them accessible to all users. Use ARIA, that's the best thing, and it's become a W3C standards just about a couple of months back. But it has got a lot of advantage, and you don't have to rewrite anything also. There are a lot of components available in the market. There's something called OpenAjax Alliance, which has got a lot of examples on accessible rich components. And if you are using Bootstrap, you can use our Bootstrap accessibility plugin developed by PayPal. We'll talk about it in the future. From this, let me hand it over to Shalini, who will take you further about and talk more about testing and our framework, what we did, the automation perspective, and so on.
Thank you, Shriti. So, coming to accessibility testing, we have so many tools which are automated tools which we can use for accessibility testing. So, coming to this agile world, manual testing is always we do it fast and we try to automate it even more faster. So there are so many open source tools which are available like HTML code sniffer, Wave, color contrast analyzer. So we can also do manual testing using these assistive technologies by keeping all the users in mind. So one more way where we can do accessibility testing is like you have to test with your own passion. So you have to put yourself into, you have to experience accessibility, like put yourself as a person who cannot use a mouse. So how many of them use keyboards? I mean, sorry, but how many of them can copy and paste using mouse? We always use keyboard shortcuts like Control C and Control V. We never use go to edit option, copy, and then do it like that. So here keyboard accessibility plays a major role. So we always need to make sure all these possible ways of testing when it comes to accessibility testing, and not just focus on we can focus on web, but also keyboard accessibility, situational accessibility. Everything has to be considered. There are few accessibility frameworks which were developed by PayPal accessibility team, and we are actively contributing to the development community with various open source accessibility related projects. So one such is Bootstrap accessibility plugin. So this is an extension for Bootstrap 3 web development framework that makes many of the components of this library accessible for keyboard and screen readers users. One more plugin which we have developed and open source is the Skip to widget. So it creates a drop-down menu which consists of important links to the page, and so you can easily navigate. It makes it easier for the keyboard users to navigate to that particular page to the desired location easily with this particular widget. So considering testing, automating accessibility testing, like we always know, men should think and machines should work. So these are the open source automation tools which are available in market. Wave, web developer kit, color contrast analyzer, and HTML code snippet. Why do we need a customized accessibility evaluation tool? So even though we have so many open source tools available in market, each of them has some drawbacks. Like probably they might not cater your needs of what your application or your product you want to test. So each of them they test a set of scenarios, and they do not they cannot test in your stage environment, and they'll the reports aren't very clear. You will not be able to directly raise a bug with the reports they generate. So what we thought, let's customize it. Let's customize whatever is available. Let's take the good things from the tools and customize it for our needs. So when we thought about customization, we looked into this HTML code sniffer tool which is available, and this was this tool had a very great set of rules which validated against this WCAG 2A, AA, and AAA levels, and also section 508. So this particular tool had it gave us very good results of the pages, and it was also useful for our staging environment. But we had difficulties like it wasn't we weren't having an option to raise bugs directly, and the reports which it was generating, we had to, every time we want to view the reports, we have to go and test that particular page and get the reports. So we were not being able to save the reports in a particular location, and wherein we can go again and see it. So if we want to go and see it again, we have to again test that particular part of page with this bookmarklet and then take it. So we use the good things from this tool, and what we did is we created an easy interface. We created an easy interface and created a Node app with Phantom.js, and we also customized this rule set to show only the WCAG to AA for now. So we restricted ourselves to this rule for now, so that once people start using it and start fixing the bugs we raised, let's move on to the higher levels. After customizing this, how we did was the interface would show results in a tabular format, which has the priority level, issues from the code snippet, and also the principle in which the issue is like. So WCAG has got lots of principles, say for example G77, and each principle you will have a link with that, wherein you can go to the WCAG website, which gives about what the issue is and how you can fix it. And so this was the result which is given by HTML code snippet. What we did, how we customized it was, we gave the code snippet instead of the line number, because code keeps changing dynamically, and giving the line number wouldn't be very efficient. So what we did, let's show the code here and let them change it so that it would be easy for them. And we had a link to Jira, where clicking on that, it would automatically populate these results directly. We also had an option to prioritize it based on the standards, like the complexity. So this was a tool architecture. How we did this? All our automation job, like we are completely in the CI system now. So as a part of continuous integration process, our automation scripts runs daily basis. You have daily runs. You have the automation cases running on every check-ins. So any automation framework following Selenium standards, it generates the execution reports. You get the paid source of whatever UI test you run. So whatever paid source which gets executed during the Maven test phase, we created a Maven plugin. So this is passed to a PAET Maven plugin. PAET here is our customized automation tool, which stands for PayPal Accessibility Evaluation Tool. So we gave it to that plugin, and this PAET Maven plugin sends these paid source as a result to the Node.js app. So this Node.js sends the request to Phantom.js. Phantom.js is mostly a headless browser, which evaluates these requests and again sends it to the HTML code sniffer for validation. So this HTML code sniffer, what it does is validates it, sends the result in a HTML format, and which is then passed to the PAET Maven plugin. So Selenium has the capability of generating reports at runtime, and also it generally creates HTML reports after your execution. So since the result which is generated from the HTML code sniffer, we are customizing it as a HTML report. We just append it to our execution file finally, and give an accessibility error report separately, which would consist of the priority and also the screenshot of where your particular error is. So all this happens in the Maven post-test phase. So how did we automate? We created a Maven plugin, and then this accessibility report Maven plugin, it was used to generate all the accessibility error reports for PayPal pages, and all the error reports were consolidated, and it was present in this path: target, SharePoint reports, then runtime reporter, and we got a HTML page. So it leverages all the internal functionality of the accessibility server for doing the evaluation. This Maven had 3 configurations: enable plugin, then which accessibility server it has to hit, and the test output folder where you want your output to be created. Enable plugin, not all the times we want these reports to get generated. Sometimes, like for a day, if you're running 3-4 times the same test, probably once in a day would be fine, and not for all the 3-4 times. So you can either set this plugin to true or false, and then run it. By default, it is set to true. Accessibility server is the path of which accessibility server you're going to hit, whichever is going to evaluate your pages for the error, and the test output folder can be customized based on your needs. How it works. In this agile world, the changes are so frequent, which has led to the evolution of continuous integration. All we need to do is just add this plugin in your form.xml file, and then once you run this particular plugin runs post your Maven test phase. So say for example, you have a UI test case, you have around 300 test cases, which takes around 3 hours to run. So this plugin runs after all the UI test cases run, it takes hardly 1 minute to generate the accessibility error report in the post-test phase, and it gives you an error report. We integrated it with our automation framework which was developed using Selenium WebDriver. Our automation framework internally which we used was called Blueprint, and the paid source created from the automation execution reports was sent to the PAET Maven plugin, which returns and sends this to the PAET server. PAET server evaluates and validates the reports and sends it back in the form of HTML. This HTML was taken as input to the PAET Maven plugin, and it then generates the accessibility error report. So the error reports which was created along with the HTML error reports, that gets generated as a part of Selenium as a result of the execution. So any automation code which is based on the Selenium framework gives you this HTML error reports in the end, and what you all need to do is just write a plugin which would interact with your PAET server, or which interact with this HTML code sniffer, and just get the response in the form of a HTML, and all you need to do is just append that response with your existing execution result, and you get this accessibility error report. Considering why this is so important in Agile world is, in Agile we mostly concentrate on, if the sprint is so short, we concentrate on say-do ratio, how many stories getting accepted, how much are we progressing. So whenever we ask them to do an accessibility testing, people come to us and say that, no, this is a legacy issue, so we'll fix it later. We can't fix this. So, first as a tester, we need to encourage them to test it, and to encourage them to fix it, we have to first make them experience it. We have to ask people, come on, start, use your application with a keyboard. We have to make them experience, and then only they will have a passion and they will understand the need to test it. inaccessible components are repeatedly incorporated into every new project. So once you start living, okay, let me fix this in the next level, and this keeps adding, keep on adding and gets piled up and makes your website inaccessible. So one more point which I would like to stress now is like, it is not only for people with disabilities. Consider a website which is designed, just by copy paste. You copy paste a code from some other, or it's just for submitting a form. I have the same code somewhere else, I'll copy it here. Now, people tend to forget to change the ID values for it. And when you're automating, we find duplicate ID elements and our automation code breaks. So we have to go again as the developers. See, listen, you have the same ID element here. My automation is breaking and it would cost more. So if you inculcate accessibility testing as a part of your, during the development phase or during the testing phase, you will end up, facing very less problems, and it will also, provide an easier way to automate your test cases. So it becomes every individual's responsibility to contribute their efforts in empowering the people with disabilities and creating an inclusive society that does not discriminate against people with disabilities.
Just to add about this open source work that we have done with PayPal, the Skip2 is not just only for people with disabilities or day users. It's a plugin which will help everybody. Like if you assume that you have newspaper, Times of India, Hindu or something. So how do you skim read your whole paper? You will have to scroll down to see all the headings. But if by using this menu, it will pop down all the headings, list of headings in one single place, so that you can click whichever heading you want to read. So it will be helpful to all the users. And secondly, about Bootstrap accessibility plugin. If you are using Bootstrap 3, you can actually straight away apply this plugin so that all your Bootstrap components will become accessible. Now you would actually have a question: why did we not submit it to Bootstrap directly, and why are we releasing it as a on a PayPal open source project? We actually did send, before actually creating this plugin, we did send a lot of pull requests to Bootstrap team, but due to this, since they're so busy that they might not have seen this pull requests or whatever, so we haven't really got any response even after waiting for so many months or years. So we thought, okay, meanwhile, while they are on it, considering it to pull request, let's actually create a plugin and make it available to people. So it's actually open source for both things. You can go to github.paypal.io and you'll find it out there. You can actually go straight away go and use it. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Hi, thank you for the question. Actually, I have done the accessibility testing in my application. So, whatever session I had, it actually gave me a better visibility, on the accessibility part. I had an understanding that accessibility is only meant for the disabilities. But this thing the session gave me an understanding it's much more than that. It's not just for the disabled people. It's also for people who have this thing, do not have a keyboard. They can find an alternative devices and all the. So there's so much of understanding I've actually revealed out of this. So my question is I've been testing for the web. I think the tool which you were talking about is on the web, I guess.
We're talking about HTML code sniffer, and Wave is also another good tool, which is created by WebM. The reason why we used HTML code sniffer is it's actually open source and we can actually integrate with other tools.
Okay, so is there any other apart from the web applications, how can we test about the same accessibility in other kind of standalone applications like forms? Can accessibility be done on them, or it's only meant for the web?
You are talking about mobile applications or desktop?
Only web-based and non-web-based.
Okay, non-web-based, there are some tools available which is based on the Selenium, but we are not, because we also mostly use the web-based applications and web-based tools. But there are very less tools when it comes to the standalone application, desktop applications, which are non-web-based. Okay, but for non-web-based, as of now, people generally use the keyboard testing and the assistive technology testing so far. But there are not really popular automated testing tools for non-web-based applications, as far as my knowledge is concerned.